Progressives are calling on the Biden administration to lift the coronavirus vaccine patent so that poorer countries can produce their own supply. Now, let me be clear about something before I give you more details in this story. This is not a conversation about rich countries handing over their doses of the vaccine. This is a discussion about lifting, at least temporarily lifting, patents so that these pharmaceutical companies share the technology, share the research necessary to produce the vaccine in some of these countries that have been unable to obtain even a single dose of the vaccine for their own people. So for months, the United States has joined Canada, the United Kingdom, and several other rich countries in blocking the patent waiver proposed first introduced at the World Trade Organization last year by South Africa and India. So South Africa and India are really leading the charge in trying to get access to the information necessary to produce these vaccines. Now, two companies, AstraZeneca and Novarix have allowed manufacturers in India, Japan, and South Korea to produce their vaccines under voluntary licensing agreements. But the WTO, which supports India and South Africa's waiver request, argues the terms of that voluntary license scheme being offered by some patent holders are not sufficient to address the current pandemic. And so the calls by progressives for Biden to do something about this continue to grow louder, and that's a good thing. So you have Representatives Rosa DeLauro, Jan Schakowsky, Bernie Sanders, of course, and dozens of other US members of Congress joining forces with 400 grassroots advocacy organizations in urging Biden to end US opposition to this waiver, which proponents say is necessary to distribute sufficient vaccine doses to developing countries. And Biden's thinking about it. So maybe he needs a little more of a push. And if he needs that push, obviously we're happy to engage in that. But we're dealing with a global pandemic. So rich countries hoarding that technology for themselves isn't really going to help this situation, especially when our global supply chain really relies on these countries, especially countries like India, right? So if you're worried about the economic situation, like you should be worried about people's lives, okay? But if you don't care about that and you're more concerned about the profit seeking of pharmaceutical companies, consider the fact that not sharing this vaccine is going to have a negative domino effect on our economy, on our health. This is really something where all countries need to be working together to beat the virus. And right now, profits over people continues to reign supreme, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and so for those of us who were not crazy about either of the choices that we had for president of the United States, who have been very transparent about that, these are the things that we talk about when we talk about this Democratic Party that so many people are, pledge their allegiance to. But here it is, here we are having a conversation about the United States of America and its impact on other countries. And so this conversation doesn't have anything to do with immigration, but allow me to make the comparison is that when we do things like this, which destabilize other countries, it forces people to have to come here or want to come here because they're seeking something that they don't have in their own countries. And these are the domino effects. So when we think about not wanting to give the resources to other countries, and then we complain about why there's so many Indians in America when we are those people who participate in those conversations. These are the reasons why people have to, because the president of the United States is operating in his capitalistic mentality, which is toxic for all of the people. And the fact that the reason why we're in this situation in the first place is because of a global effect, the global effect of coronavirus, which started in some place called China. And so we don't ever think that things like that are going to affect us because we think that we operate solely as this individual singular entity when we know that it's all interconnected. So when we don't want to help India, Coronavirus is not gonna get better in Montana because this is the stuff that happens that affects the people throughout the world. And for some reason, those people who are at the top who make all the money, they don't care because they're not directly affected because they're not walking into the stores where these people work and they're not interacting with the people directly. So it just pisses me off that we have these conversations because coronavirus is not gonna get better for anybody until it gets better for everybody, because that's the reason why we're so affected by it, right? Wuhan is not down the street from here. And yet and still, I have friends that have died of coronavirus here. So it's just, are you on our team, Biden, or are you not? Because we need to know that you're for the people, because you're acting like the dummy that we heard in the earlier story.
Right, and look, one of the things that people need to be aware about is the importance of getting vaccinated goes beyond just protecting yourself. We already have variants of this virus, and it's because it mutates. And so a way to prevent future variants is to get as many people vaccinated as possible. What if in the future there's a variant that's not responsive to the vaccine? That could happen. It hasn't happened yet as far as we know, but that could happen. It is in everyone's interest. It is in the economy's interest, if that's literally all you care about, to ensure that we share these resources across the globe, including with the global South. And so hopefully Biden does the right thing here. But overwhelmingly, my feelings are, considering how this is a human rights thing, a human rights issue, pharmaceutical drugs should not be a commodity. It should be something that's owned by the people. It's already partially financed by the people. It's just that they then turn around, they price gouge us after we help with their research and development.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.